Hello, everybody. Uh, so welcome to Rendezvous, episode 62. Whoops, not 62. That was a mistake. It is, what is it, 53, I believe? Yeah. So it's about mistakes and how to make mistakes wisely or, you know, um, yeah. So everyone makes mistakes. But the way, so I think kind of accepting that, and then there's a kind of a wise, like there's a way to interact with mistakes, which is more practical than what we normally do. So people normally like hate mistakes, fair enough, and so they try to avoid them at all costs and try to work very hard to not make mistakes. And that's a good thing. Like some people who don't try that at all, they're just like a train wreck of chaos and they cause problems for everyone around them. And they don't care about making mistakes. They just do whatever feels good in the moment. And so that's not good. So you want to live in harmony, right? That's important. That's wise. And so you want to try to avoid making mistakes. However, if you want, ironically, paradoxically, if you want to minimize the number of mistakes you make, you need to welcome the inevitable mistakes which you are going to make. Because if you're living in fear and resistance of making mistakes, so it's not just that you're trying to avoid them, but you've got an emotional reaction, a kind of shrinking away from them, then that's actually going to make you more likely to make mistakes. So basically, you need to emotionally welcome them and be like, oh, good, a mistake, great. Because that attitude will actually make mistakes less common, and it'll allow you to see them and fix them when they come. So, and this applies in every field, everything. Um, and so, ironically, yeah, like if you want to see mistakes, there won't be many around because you will be noticing them, and also you'll have a more peaceful energy, and so you'll be more skillful and you'll make fewer mistakes. Your higher level of consciousness, your intelligence will flow more freely into what you do. But also, when you make mistakes, you will notice them and fix them, and so then they won't recur as much. They won't proliferate. Whereas if you want to see mistakes, there won't be many around. But if you don't want to see mistakes, they will be everywhere. You might not notice them, but there will be mistakes everywhere, and you'll probably notice a bunch of them. So when you can be like, oh, like if you're afraid of making a mistake, then you're spending some of your energy on kind of, being like, oh, I feel stupid, or I feel bad about that, or I'm frustrated, or I'm a bit on edge. Maybe you're afraid or anxious about mistakes, or maybe you're just angry and frustrated, like, oh, stupid mistakes, or maybe you're a bit kind of sad by it, oh, or you're a bit numb. Maybe it's just taking away the fun out of life because or of some particular activity. Either way, right? There's some negative energy which is coming into you because of a mistake which just happened, or which is going to happen, or which is happening right now. But and that energy could be better spent on whatever you're doing, your tasks, and getting a good result. But instead, it's being used up. Your brain power, your time and space, in mental space, is being used up by this negative energy. But you don't need that. Maybe like animals, lower animals might need these energies to, like, emotions are like messengers, right? They're like, hey, you're doing something wrong. And so they can be useful in that way. Like, oh, I feel guilty. Why do I feel guilty? Okay. That emotion is trying to direct your mind to explore a certain aspect of the infinite, space of reality. So that's useful. It's basically saying, hey, come over here and think about this little spot. So I feel guilty. Why? Okay, try to think about it. Oh, is it what I did last night when I was talking to my friend? I was a bit rude. Is that it? Like, actually, yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Okay, so the emotion is telling me to think about this thing. And then, okay, you think about it. And either you realize, no, 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 false alarm, I didn't do anything wrong. Or maybe you do that, but then you might also might learn a few things like, oh, but next time I could do this different. I could communicate better or whatever. Or you might realize, actually, I did something wrong. I was out of balance. I need to change my ways. I made a mistake. You might notice a mistake. And so emotion is healthy when it's acting as a messenger saying, hey, look at this thing. Think about this. But after that, it's like, the telegram man comes to the house and telegram, and then you get, you get the message. You don't, if he's like, hey, can I come in for tea? Can I live in your house? No, get out of here. Like, you've done your job. Off you go. Thank you. Yeah, here's a tip. Here's, here's $5. Off you go. So with emotions, once we get the message, we should let the messenger be on their way. But that's a bit different, right? To like, having these emotions naturally come up. And for animals, I guess that was necessary. And for us, it can be necessary, or it can be useful, but it's not necessary anymore because you can just use your mind to kind of anticipate things. But I guess still, emotion still does bring stuff up from the subconscious into the conscious. It directs us where to think. Well, oh, I feel proud. Why do I feel proud? Oh, and then you notice something. Oh, I did that, and that was good. Maybe I should do more of that. Or I feel really happy. Why do I feel happy? And you notice something. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I need more of that. Or you go, I feel a bit tense. Why do I feel tense? You think about it. You notice errors or mistakes or things that aren't good for you. Or so that kind of emotion can be healthy. But when you're like, say you make a mistake, and you go, damn it, I made a mistake. Or here's a good example. Say someone points out a mistake. Someone's like, oh, by the way, you did that wrong. I think that the healthier reaction should be to be like, oh, thank you. Oh, great. Right. Yeah, you're right. I did make a mistake. Okay. I think maybe it's healthy for someone who's completely not paying attention in their life to get frustrated. That would be the beginning of progress. If they get stuck, oh my, why am I always making mistakes? That could be healthy. But for most people who are trying to be in balance, that frustration isn't really going to get you anywhere. It's much healthier to just laugh and go, oh, again, oh my God, yeah, thank you. Basically, you want to be open to mistakes. You want to be, when they come, you want to be, you don't want to have an attitude where you're kind of secretly hoping they don't appear. Because then when they do appear, how do you know you're not going to just repress the awareness of it or just ignore it? Or maybe be kind of, with body language, communicate to, say you've got some colleague and they point out when you make a mistake, and then you get kind of, insecure and like, oh my God, does this make me look bad? And then you're kind of like, you're a little bit stiff in your reply, then they're going to be less likely to help you in future when you make mistakes, when they notice. Whereas if you're like, really just relaxed and like, oh my God, yeah, you're totally right. Thanks for that. No big deal, nonchalant, just keep moving and absorb it. Then in the future, they will be more likely to keep doing that and keep letting you know and then that's going to help you grow. You're going to develop. So, and this leads to the next thing, which is mistakes or failure is the path to success, as they say. So, some people say, like, is it Tim Ferriss or someone, I can't remember, saying like they try to fail, or Tim Kennedy, I think, the really interesting guy, Tim Kennedy, former or current, I think, soldier in the US Army, but this really intelligent, kind of funny, cool guy. But he says he tries to fail as many times every day because that's kind of a way of ensuring, basically as a way of succeeding in life in general. He tries to intentionally make himself fail as many times. So basically he's put to do that. He's pushing himself to his limits. And so he's getting exposure to so much stuff, and he's incredibly competent, So, and I'd say that's why, like, he's just got this ethos of, I want to fail as many times as I can, but he's trying his maximum, but he's got this kind of sneaky, funny thought, like a mischievous philosophy of like, yeah, failure is good. I want to fail as much as I can. And so that's basically a way of outflanking the nervousness of, his subconscious mind and just inviting challenges in to help him grow. So, yeah, I think if you're learning a language and you're making mistakes, you should, when you find a mistake, the correct attitude should be one of like friendliness to the mistake. You're like, oh, right, cool. Come here, come here. You want to notice it. You don't want, if you're like, ah, oh, damn it, why I always do that, or you feel embarrassed or stupid, then it's just extra brain power, which is being distracted from the main goal of remembering the right way to do this thing. So yeah, the more we can just kind of be one with what's going on and go, oh yes, that's the correct thing. And that's for languages, but it's for everything else. Jiu-jitsu, art, communication, anything, yeah. So you don't want to be internally divided. You want to free up those resources, and then you're going to be able to perform better, and you're going to be able to absorb feedback better. So that's kind of about my philosophy on like why it's ideal to try your best, always do your best, and try to live in harmony, and encourage others to do so. But in order to do that, ironically, it's necessary to welcome mistakes when they come, and to help you do that, just think ahead and go, look, 100% I'm going to make mistakes in the future. Some of them big, some of them really embarrassing, some of them just, a million small ones. I'm going to make the same mistake over and over again. Say with languages, usually it's not like, oh, someone explains something or teaches you a word or a grammar rule once and then you know it. It's usually like you had no idea, and that's one level, and then you learn it and you go, oh, okay. But then you make the mistake again, and so you weren't aware. Then when you finally get to the next level, it's you make the mistake, but then you notice it after you made the mistake. And you're like, oh, I did it. And then the next level above that would be you notice the mistake while you're making it. And the next level above that would be you notice the mistake before you say it. You're about to say it, and then you catch yourself and you edit it. Whew, that was close. And then the final stage is you no longer make it. It just comes out perfect. And that happens for every little part of a language, and every little part of any skill you're doing, I guess. Again, jiu-jitsu would be the same thing, or whatever, any kind of martial arts or dance or whatever. Memory, some things, for whatever reason, maybe it depends on the person, depends on the culture, depends on your body, depends on your teacher, depends on the circumstances where you're learning it, how tired are you, what food were you eating. There's all these variables. But you, at different times and different people, it's going to vary about each particular thing to learn. How quickly can you move through those stages into making it automatic? As Kevin Trudeau would say, you're going from unconscious incompetence up to conscious incompetence, up to conscious competence, up to unconscious competence, where that's basically another way of saying what I was just talking about there. So where you need to kind of be paying attention to do it, but then later on it's just automatic. Like the grammar I'm using now, I don't have to think about it very much, because it's been automatized by years of practice. So yeah, different people, different things. You might need to learn the same thing 20 times over, and if you shouldn't be thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I'm so stupid. Because how does that help you? Even if that was true, which it isn't, everyone, you are who you are. Everyone's different. We're all better and worse than each other in different aspects, but you're the best in the world at being you. That's for sure. There's particular gifts you have. Everyone has some particular gifts and some particular weaknesses. But even if it was true that you're like stupid or something, some people have a very low IQ, for example. How does it help you to be dwelling on, oh, I'm stupid? It's like, what you're really saying is I'm more stupid than I should be, or I'm less intelligent than I should be. And that's not true. You are who you are, and the universe made you. You didn't make you. So why should you be responsible? Responsibility is the ability to respond. If you don't have the ability to change something, you have no responsibility there, right? So cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break, and just understand, you can say, oh, I'm not good at this. if that's just a description, but if it's a kind of a judgment, a condemnation, like, oh, I'm not good at this, and you're really saying like, I should be better, you need to be careful, because if you can be better, then okay, fair enough, you can work towards that. But if it's like, oh, this is just, I'm judging the way the universe made me, then that's kind of not very useful, you know? Doesn't really make sense. But yeah, so say you have a very low IQ, for example, some extreme case. They should, if they make the same mistake 20 times over, instead of getting frustrated, just keep doing it. Keep again. After 100 times, it's going to sink in, you know, or maybe after 30 times, you know, but sooner or later, you know, and even if it didn't, what's the alternative? It's worth trying, isn't it? And at least most of the time, things are going to sink in. Maybe some things will never sink in, who knows? But do you have a better idea, you know? So I think when we make mistakes over and over again, it's like, just treat it exactly like it's the first time. If anything, the only thing should be, okay, I need to be more aware of that. Try to, in your free time, go, oh, is there something I should be thinking about? Oh yeah, okay. Well, what about the mistakes I make? What's on my list of regular repeating mistakes? Oh yeah, in, you know, speaking that language, what's that thing I always do? Oh yeah, I always do that and it's wrong. Or is it this and it's wrong? Wait, which one is it? You might notice that you're not actually clear on that. You're like, wait, is it fall or fell? Which is the present simple? Oh, I'm not sure. Or you might be like, oh wait, in jiu-jitsu, do I move my hips left or right in this situation? Huh. You know, so by, you know, just in your free time kind of thing, when you can, thinking about it, that could help you consolidate it, and then you're fine, you know. Or you might go, oh yeah, I know what it is exactly. Yeah, that's fine. But then when the situation comes, you can kind of be better placed to not make the mistake. But I'd say that's all you can really do, is like give extra time to focusing on things. If you're making the mistake over and over again, try to be more aware. But yeah, I think my personal belief is that judging ourselves doesn't help us. It's not practical. Although maybe in extreme examples, like people who just aren't even trying at all, then maybe judging themselves would be useful. It would get them, you know, get them on their feet and moving rather than just dwelling in despair, you know. But for most people who aren't in that extreme, I think, yeah, it's much wiser to just kind of be more accepting and encouraging and forgiving of yourself. All right, so that's about how to make mistakes in order to flourish, and yeah, basically how to orient yourself towards mistakes so that you can make the fewest mistakes possible, which ironically involves kind of embracing mistakes. But then also one other thing I want to talk about is like mistakes in general in life. The idea that on some level, I think you can, like, the state of peace is very useful for being, like what we're talking about here, kind of being skillful and doing a good job. It's like if you're peaceful, then you have more energy and more brain power to devote to whatever you want to do. So if I'm like, oh, I really want to sing this song very well, if I'm peaceful, I will be able to sing it better than if I'm kind of in the back of my head, keeping part of my mental bandwidth for like, oh, what are the people thinking when they're looking at me? Do they like it? And oh my God, how am I going to feel if I do this badly? Or how am I going to feel if I do it well? Oh, it's like, just don't do that. Just keep all of your mind focused on the music. Then that'll be the best it can be, you know? So basically, yeah, being peaceful is a way to maximize your skill in anything, I think. So one way to radically improve your peace or expand or deepen your peace and just lack of problems, like, yeah, I'm okay, no worries. Just this feeling of restfulness and kind of floating, right? Just this calm. You're in the present moment. There might be challenges you need to work on, but you're like, you feel good, you know? Basically, you feel good. You're at peace, you know? You're not necessarily happy. You're not necessarily excited, but you're at peace. There's a sort of like stillness, or like, yeah, I'm where I should be. There's a certain kind of rootedness and oneness with life, a kind of relaxation there, right? Okay, so that's what I mean by peace. One great way to anchor yourself into peace is to kind of see life as like what you're going to do your best. As long as you're doing your best, whatever happens, that was the best that you could get, right? So once you're doing your best, then you can get to this point where you go, oh, like, what if bad things happen and if I make mistakes, or even if sometimes I'm not doing my best, okay, I'm doing my best to do my best as frequently as I can. I'm trying to stay in that frame of mind, right? Your soul is trying to control yourself and have spiritual self-discipline and do your best all the time. So you're doing your best to do your best to do your best. All right, we'll just say you're doing your best in life. From that point, you can kind of realize like whatever happens will be what it is. And I know I'm going to do my best to control what I can control, accept what I can't control, and to have the wisdom to know the difference. So yeah, all right. So there's no mistakes anymore. Whatever happens, it's just the way, I did my best. So there's no mistake isn't really so accurate anymore. It's like it was just what happened. That's one way that can improve peace. A similar thing is to notice that mistakes, when you make them, they become part of the tapestry of your life, and they become part of who you are. And so, say like, I can think of mistakes I made when I was 16 years old or something. Like say I didn't go to there was this ancient Egypt exhibition at this museum in Perth, Western Australia when I was 16, I think. 15, 16? Maybe 15. And my friends, shout out to Curtis in the astral realm, and Prashan and Mark, they were like, yeah, Jamie, you coming? We're going here. And I was like, meh, which is outrageous because now I'm like obsessed with Egypt. But yeah, I think I was like, I'm just going to be, on my own, antisocial or whatever. And then they went and had some amazing time and really bonded together. And then I felt like left out and I felt like I'd missed it. They were telling stories about it and I was like, damn it. And so I could say that was a mistake. I missed out on a beautiful experience. But actually that led me to write a poem about my experience there and feeling like, no, I want to give myself to life. I want to live. I want to be involved more. I want to be creating this universe and participating in this universe, I want to be part of it, the game, so that I created a work of art there, like a little work of art, but I like it and it's meaningful to me and think it could, it's something other people could read and resonate with. So that's something good that came of it. And that was just it did change me. It made me significantly more open to, so that bad experience caused all these good experiences. And maybe if I had gone, maybe I would have missed out on other experiences. Maybe I wouldn't have really gotten so deep into understanding the need to be involved and, and anyway, like I wouldn't be able to give this example right now. This would be a different podcast. I'd have a slightly different history and via the butterfly effect of small changes, accumulating and kind of exponentially leading us to exponentially different parallel universes. If you change any of those quote unquote mistakes in the past, then I would kind of be a different person, I'd have different life circumstances and so, or like, I shouldn't have, done this thing. I shouldn't have gotten that job. Well, but then, there's many good and bad things that came from it. So if you really got rid of that, you wouldn't be there to enjoy it. It would be some other version of you which would be enjoying that parallel universe, right? Although it would be your soul. It would still be the same person, I guess, on that level. But so anyway, that's one thing that can anchor you to peace also, is to realize every mistake in the past and every mistake in the future is going to be inexorably woven into the tapestry of your life, and it's going to make you who you are, and make others who they are, others who come into contact with you. And so really we can't regret it that much, can we? Because, that would be to regret who you are. And I think we're all flawed, but we're all perfect in a way. Imperfectly perfect, perfectly imperfect. And so, actually we can just have gratitude for this and understand this is part of the paradox and the play of life and opposites, polarity. And yeah, so long as we're doing our best, then we can uh, um, balance that out with this piece of like, oh yeah, whatever happens is just fine, you know, and there's inevitably going to be mistakes, and they kind of get redeemed because they kind of can help us learn things, and they're just, you know, they're part of who we are. We don't want to disown them, you know. And then finally, you might say though, to counter that, like, oh, but if you hadn't made those mistakes, you would be in some parallel universe where you're like, you know, a better version of you, and you would also still be flawed, and you would have learned other things, and you would have improved in other ways. So why, you know, wouldn't you prefer that? Why wouldn't you say, well, no, that it was a mistake? And sometimes I think there is some value in that. Sometimes you can go too far thinking like, oh, everything's fine, everything's exactly how it's meant to be. It's all destiny. Yeah, you know, you know, like, say you make some serious mistake, like, or you get too drunk and then you embarrass everyone. And then the next morning you're like, well, it was just the way it had to be. That's just it. Da da da, moving on. Sometimes that's fair enough. But I think other times you should maybe think, that doesn't really feel good. I think I made a mistake there. And maybe you do want that emotion, even if in theory it's not very rational, because it's like, oh, that's, you were doing your best. It just happened. That's how life goes. It's part of who you are now. Just accept it, you know. But also, I think there is some wisdom in paying attention to that quote unquote irrational emotion, and just to be like, okay, this messenger is telling me that wasn't in harmony. Okay, so I want to be in harmony, so I will accept this mistake I made. But also, for the same reason, to be in harmony, I'm going to kind of just pay a bit of attention to that and just notice, what did I do that wasn't so useful? What could I do next time? Maybe I can stop on the, you know, the third pint or something. Um, so I think there is, again, it's all about balance and flexibility. If you're too lax, then you need to probably come back to center by going more the traditional way of, you know, the animal instincts and kind of feeling bad about mistakes, and, you know, trying to compete with the worst side of your nature, you know, and not to just be like, oh, whatever, and just let your monkey mind rule. But you do need to compete for space there in some sense, and let your higher self have its throne. Um, but yeah, on the other hand, if you're like really kind of locked in and restricted and limited and unhappy and blocked up by energy because you're afraid of, not being good enough, or afraid of making mistakes or disappointing people, or, you know, being a weight on the world or whatever because you're not what you should be. We can all experience those things, but I think if that's kind of like too dominant, and I think it is in most people, then I think it's wise to kind of take more the view I've been advocating here of just being like loosey goosey, just peace, and do my best, and then just accept everything. Thank every mistake, and just greet it with a smile. Hey, like a friend, you know, be friendly with mistakes, because if you're doing your best, um, that's actually how you do your best. Once you're devoted to doing your best, that's step one. Step two is embrace all the mistakes, because that, I guess, leads you to step three, which is actually being the best of your best, where you're not worried about mistakes, and that energy is kind of freed up to be used to make fewer mistakes. And then ultimately, even those remaining mistakes you make, because no one's perfect, and maybe they're needed anyway to help everyone learn, from the higher vantage point, that's all just part of life, and it's part of the story. And, you know, a movie where beginning, middle, end, everything was perfect. Man, what a boring story. Who wants to pay attention to that? There's nothing to learn, nothing to experience. So, you know, we could all just be the universe, like, oh, just existing as some enormous psychedelic sun all-consuming, infinite nothingness of pure blissful light. But, you know, the journey of individuation and polarity and the drama of light and dark and big and small and good and bad and mistake and success and love and hatred or evil or fear or ignorance, consciousness and sleep, all these things, it involves the drama of, you know, the mistakes, things going, having what we want and not having what we want. So I think, yeah, on that highest level, it's all redeemed anyway. So before we leave it here, I'm going to play a little song which my great grandfather taught me, and it's my great really great amazing grandfather taught me about fish. Hey, there's a fish in the stream. Hey, there's a mind in a dream. Well, don't you know, my friend, there's a fish in a dream. And, well, my enemy, don't you know there's a mind in a thought stream? And, oh, damn it, I forgot the rest of the song. Oh well, I'll just accept it. Much love, everybody.